So there was a blog on Medium published in 2016 by a LGBTQ plus rights activist and anti-racist feminist called Alexa Fermia, and I don't know her pronouns, but she's an intersectional feminist, and she thinks that Graham Linehan, the BAFTA award-winning writer of Father Ted and the It Crowd, is a transphobe. The issue stemmed from a National Geographic cover that was about gender, and the gender revolution that the intersectional types have been foisting on the rest of society. Someone called Boodaloops tweeted, "Glad to see we are finally getting rid of women in this glorious gender revolution. Don't worry though, male people still exist." Because apparently, this is a person who is normally considered to be a TERF, a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. As in, these are the people who don't believe that trans women are women. Rebecca Riley Cooper, a notorious TERF, who has written exclusively about her fear of trans women being allowed into cis women's spaces. Her conclusion that we are finally getting rid of women is based on her belief that the two women on the cover aren't really women. There's nothing particularly interesting about that, TERF's gonna TERF. What's interesting is who decided to signal boost her bigotry. Graham fucking Linehan. Oh dear Graham, you are in trouble now, my son. For anyone who doesn't know who Graham Linehan is, he's a radical feminist, apparently a TERF, all over Twitter, with everyone. And he seems to have a particular ire towards women who disagree with his feminism, specifically my friend Shoe on Head. He has had a long-running beef with Graham, and he's always come off the worst for it. When he was called out for it, he offered this response: "Erasure of women is now a transphobic position, evidently. Yes, Graham, the fact that you don't accept trans people, women, men to women specifically, as women, is what is transphobic in this interpretation." That's just how the intersectional types define transphobia. And our intersectional LGBTQ plus advocate says, again, there were two women on the cover. By claiming that women have been erased, Linehan is claiming that those two women are not women. Ironically, it is Linehan and not National Geographic who is doing the erasing, and this is why it's a transphobic position. So biologically there are no females on this National Geographic cover. However, to be ideologically correct with intersectionalism is to accept without question that trans men to women are women. As in, they fulfill the social construct that is the gender role for women, and don't fulfill the gender role for men, regardless of what their genes actually are. That's the intersectional position, and the idea that gender is connected to your genetic heritage is the TERF position. And when I say the TERF position, I mean the position that 99.99% of humanity holds. The correlation between being female and becoming a woman is so close, most people don't even make the distinction between sex and gender. But luckily for trans people, most people are also quite polite. And if a man goes through the surgery, makes an effort to try and appear to be a woman and fulfill the female gender role, most people, I think, are probably polite enough that they will act as if that is a woman. But that's not good enough for the intersectional types. Just acting like you are talking to a woman to make them feel comfortable in an interpersonal setting isn't good enough. You have to believe that they are a woman. You can't just go along with the dogma, you have to wholeheartedly endorse it. And if you don't, you're a transphobe. And this goes back years. So apparently in 2013, in the It Crowd, there was some kind of transphobic joke. I don't know, I don't watch it, I never thought it was funny in the slightest. But, you know, no beef to anyone who happens to like it. But someone, even back then, enjoying the It Crowd special, apart from the current bit which was transphobic. Sure, Glinner has learned now, though. Sounds like the mafia, doesn't it? Well, I'm sure you figured it out now, haven't you? A transphobic character is not a transphobic episode. Learn the difference from Graham Linehan. And I have to say, I actually completely agree with him on that. I mean, there was no way to portray an anti-racist message in To Kill a Mockingbird without portraying racism in To Kill a Mockingbird. But the SJW doesn't care. In fact, I think the storyline was terribly transphobic. Sorry, but it was. But they go on blah blah blah, arguing it back and forth, and nobody's paying attention at this point. But apparently that episode was the very definition of transphobia, which honestly, from their point of view, probably was actually the very definition. It's just Linehan isn't quite as far down that road as they are. But the defensiveness of Lineham's go-to move when people question him or his TERF friends: don't use TERF, please. Offensive term used to silence and harass women. That's true. That is actually incredibly true. That is exactly what the term TERF is for. As with every other weaponized label the social justice warriors use, the term is used to marginalize and silence you, to make you compact, discreet, and removable from the conversation. That's the point. Again, I hate to say this, but Graham Linehan is correct. And the Graham Linen's problem is that he is coming a cropper of the radicals in the movement that he has chosen to embrace. You fucked this up, Graham. You are now on the losing side of this. You are a straight white man and you are arguing in favour of TERFs. I think the SJWs hate TERFs more than they hate people like me. TERF is, of course, a misogynistic term. I knew I liked it. I tell you what, it really is fun to put out bays. So she finishes with, we live in a culture that perpetuates harmful messages about the transgender community, resulting in 41% of trans and gender non-conforming people attempting suicide at least once in their lifetime. Wow, that's a really high percentage. I mean, given that we know that, apparently, I would say that promoting transgenderism is probably not wise. Is it the responsible thing to do? I mean, if we live in a society that's openly transphobic, should we be perpetuating that? I mean, it just seems irresponsible to me. I mean, if even male feminists like Graham Linehan are doing it, how are we going to get unwoke people who are still plugged into the matrix of the patriarchy? How are we going to get them to do it? But as I learned from Mumsnet recently, Graham Linehan is just still a TERF, and openly so. And this is something that Mumsnet has quite a lot to say about it. And then Graham got into a long-running Twitter feud with a trans activist called Stephanie Hayden, who he claims is a dangerous troll. The creator of Father Ted is embroiled in a row with a transgender activist who allegedly published online several addresses linked to his family in an attempt to shut him up. She doxed him. I don't know whether she actually did, but that's his claim. He said he would not stop voicing his concerns in a debate over transgender rights. It's not what this is about, is it? After personal details and addresses linked to his wife's company were tweeted by Stephanie Hayden, an activist with a history of threatening Twitter users with legal action and reporting them to police if they disagree with her views on gender. Imagine going to the police and saying, "Excuse me, sir, I was on Twitter yesterday and I was having a conversation about the nature of gender, and that person disagreed with me. I'd like to report them for being a transphobe, please. I would like you to take action. Arrest this man. He doesn't agree that men are women if they chop off their penises." She apparently reported Linehan to Norfolk Constabulary for transphobic harassment after he shared a post with his 672,000 followers that included details of Miss Hayden's various aliases, examples of her online conduct and financial history. Okay, I don't know about the financial history, but like, he's showing her other alternate accounts and how she acts with them. That's not a problem, is it? I mean, I don't want to defend Graham Linehan, but that's fine. I mean, he's free to do that. That's not a crime or even morally questionable. But like I said, I don't know about the financial history thing, so I'll leave that hanging as a question mark. The scriptwriter said he shared the details because he believed Miss Hayden to be a dangerous troll. Yeah, well, it sounds like she's trying to get people arrested for being in opposition to intersectionalism. That sounds like a dangerous troll to me. She says, "I believe it's important to shine a light on people like that because they are harming women and trans women." They're not, though, are they? They're just disagreeing. They just have a difference of opinion. It's not that they're harming people. It's that you think they're contributing to a society that still has harmful messages, and eventually these harmful messages will cause trans people to commit suicide. Who knows why they're committing suicide? Who knows? But that doesn't mean you get to shut everyone else up. So Miss Hayden is 45 and an activist from Leeds, previously known as Tony Halliday and Stephen Hayden, who claims to be a lawyer but is not recognised by any professional legal body. And she has previously accused Sussex University of being a temple of transgender hate, which I don't think I would describe Sussex University as that when I went there, and was deplatformed because of the feminist nature of the faculty. She supported the campaign to oust female academics if they challenged transgender orthodoxy. Yes, she is a belligerent social justice warrior, and she is trying to impose this kind of intersectional regime on the rest of you. When a transsexual solicitor challenged Miss Hayden, I love the way that it had to be a transsexual one. A regular solicitor challenging this, well, their opinion doesn't matter because they're just transphobic. But a transsexual one, well, they're not transphobic, are they? But anyway, they graduated from a law degree from Birkbeck and University of London. Asked her to prove her professional credentials. She made allegations of hate crimes to West Yorkshire Police. But the straight white men at the West Yorkshire Police were just like, oh, fucking hell, love. We can't go arresting a trans person for being transphobic and committing a hate crime. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So according to Miss Hayden, she did nothing wrong, and honestly her arguments aren't terrible, actually. But she says, Mr. Linehan deliberately used my former male identity and referred to me as he, despite having personal knowledge that I am the holder of a female gender recognition certificate. Imagine thinking that anyone gives a shit that you have a certificate that says you're a woman. That's not how it works, love. No one cares that you're a certified woman. It's such a ridiculous statement to make. I don't even know where to begin. But I love, it indicates the legalese with which this kind of community operates. This is an act of transphobic harassment. And that's what this is about. So she reported him to the cops. Glad that we put in those hate crime laws, eh, Graham? That wasn't a mistake or anything, was it? It's all coming up roses for Graham Linehan. This could have been avoided if it wasn't illegal to say things that pissed people off or offended their sensibilities. So Linehan was reported to Norfolk Police for transphobic harassment earlier this week after blah blah blah. Right, okay, we've covered that. He says that Hayden is trying to shut him up by attacking his wife, which is undoubtedly true, and obviously reporting him to the cops. The only thing the extremists will accept in this conversation is complete capitulation, but I won't stop talking about this. Graham, you sound like an anti-feminist. Graham, you sound exactly like me. That's what I say about this. This is true. The extremists will only accept complete capitulation. That's absolutely what's happening. But anyway, Hayden said, just had a discussion with Norfolk Constabulary. They have confirmed that they are treating the matter as a crime and are commencing their investigations. Now they've opened up a criminal investigation, I will no longer be making any further substantive comment about Graham Linehan. In due course, I will also commence High Court proceedings. Graham, is it time to repeal the hate crime laws? Is it time to defend free speech on the internet, Graham? Is it time that we all have to speak with one voice and say that we will not be silenced by political correctness wielded by intersectional social justice warriors? Because it really fucking sounds like it's the time, Graham. What I'm saying is, do a live stream with Shoe on Head.